take our razor blade. Oops, excuse me. Stop there, take a razor blade, cut the thread, just like that. Give us a little tag end right here. Take this tag end and put it through our loop. Just like that. Just through our loop. Pull it through the loop like that. You can see what happened there. And then I'm just going to take my finger, put it in the loop right here. Pull it. You're pulling the thread back under itself. So it's going to lock itself down in the blank. Now all I'm going to do is take that thread and pull it back a little bit, opposite direction. We just pulled it. Pull it back and create a little gap in the thread. And I'm going to take my razor blade or X-Acto knife, whichever you choose to use, pull that thread at an angle, up and away, and then bring my X-Acto knife, if I can grab this, down the thread and cut right in that gap. Just like that. No sawing. If you saw, chances are you'll nick the thread on your good wraps. And I'll just take my burnishing tool, push the thread back together, like so. Now you've got no knots, no tag ends, nothing protruding from the thread. If you have any tag ends or little frays, the epoxy is going to build up on that. And it makes it a little tougher to get a smooth finish. So now we've got our wrap. I'm just going to take my burnishing tool, rotate the rod a little bit, push my wraps together. Use your finger sometimes if the gaps are too big. And just like so, we've wrapped our first guide. What I prefer to do is put trim bands on my wraps. So I'll put one quick trim band on this wrap, just to show you. So I'm going to take my metallic thread in this case, and in this case, I'm going to be wrapping away from my guide because I want my wrap to start where my guide wrap stopped, or began rather, but we're going to wrap in the opposite direction. We're going to use that previous wrap as a backstop to move forward on. So again, I'm just take my tape the thread in the direction we're going to be wrapping. I'm going to show you how to do it by hand this time. Just hold the spool in my hand. Again, rotating the blank, bringing the thread down the blank, up against my other thread, make one complete wrap, and then I'm going to make the cross. Make it a little more obvious so you can see it. Again, I'm just going to cross that thread. Just like that. And now I want this trim band to be thin. 5-6 wraps total. So I'm going to go ahead at the same time that I'm locking my thread onto itself, I'm going to go ahead and insert my quick pull so I can get my wraps on that as well. Again, I'm just going to make 4 to 6 wraps. It's 1, 2, 3, just like that. I made a little mistake, got on top of itself, no problem. We just back it up, come back to where we're still in line. I've got 4 wraps on there. Now I've got 5. I'll go ahead and put a 6th one on there for the video, make it a little bigger. And that's it. Now I'm going to take my knife again, or razor blade. Cut a tag end to where we have some play in this. I'm just going to take my finger, hold my wrap down. I hope you can see that loop there. Put my thread through the loop, just like so. Now I've got my wrap over top of itself. I wrap it over the KB quick pull, and now I put my thread through the loop. And all I'm going to do is grab this loop on the other end and pull the thread under itself, just like that. No knots, nothing to make any kind of bump in our wrap. And all I'm going to do is, again, pull my thread back a little bit, create a space between the threads where my tag is coming through, push my razor blade in there, just like that. Go ahead and push that against our other wrap. Same thing with this tag end. Just pull it to the side. A little bit of tension on the thread. Not too much, just a little bit. Just like that. Cut our tag off. Now we have our first guide wrap with a decorative trim wrap. We'll work our way up the rod. They all wrap just the same. And then when we wrap them all, we'll line them up, make sure they're straight with our reel seat and our tip top, and then we'll epoxy it. What I prefer to do to make sure they're straight, I try to keep them in line as I'm wrapping. That way I can kind of base our next guide off of the previous guide, as opposed to just kind of wrapping them all and then getting towards the end having to straighten them all out. Kind of keep them straight one at a time. And I'll take my rod out of the wrapper and look down my rod. Again, making an imaginary line from our reel seat through the guides, straight down the blank, and making sure they're lined up. You want that guide to come off straight, in line with the reel seat. I'll line them all up this way. And then once I think they're in line, looking straight at the guides, I'll turn the blank over. And this is kind of the acid test. And I'll have the guides face away from me. And what I'll do, there's a line on the back of the reel seat where the threads are, so I know where my spine is, because the opposite side of our spine is just like the opposite side of our reel seat. They're directly in line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blank, and I'll show you this in a minute, a different clip on the video, and split the guide with the blank. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the blank right here, looking down the line from our reel seat, putting a straight line from our reel seat right here, this notch, down the blank, and I'm taking that center point and putting it in the middle, making sure it's in the middle of this guide. If our guide is off to one side or the other, the guide needs to be adjusted. When everything's lined up correctly, this guide or the blank should precisely split each guide directly in half. And you have an even amount of space on each ring when you put the blank down the middle of it. And then what I like to do is I'll leave the rod for a few minutes. I'll go take a drink, make a sandwich, and then come back and look at it. It's amazing just kind of stepping away what your eyes will do. Once we have them all lined up, we'll epoxy our guides.